I urge you to go check out some different kind of musics that you might not see on the station. MTV does cover a lot of music. We got to give them that. Big thumbs up for the Big M. But, you know, there's a lot of other music out there that no one necessarily does videos for, like Charlie Parker, the great saxophone player. Or a guy like King Sunny Ade. You ever heard of him? He's from Nigeria. He plays wonderful music. Check out Bob Marley sometime. There's a lot of music that you can go out and check out. And there's a lot of great old rock and roll from when your parents were growing up, because believe me, when they were 18, they were thinking about all the same things that you think about right now. You ever heard of Buddy Holly? You ever heard of Gene Vincent? Gene Vincent is one of the most amazing vocalists ever. Bebopalula, all that kind of stuff. Man, there's so much great music out there. I just wouldn't want to see you limiting yourself to like 10, you know, to the 10 cool albums that you see on the top 10 of Rolling Stone's college airplay list.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.
Hey guys, so today I'm going to do a response to a thread that Chris from The Long Cut had started. Well, I don't know. I mean, his video title was 10 favorite current artists, in parentheses, vinyl community tag. So typically we do these things called threads in the vinyl community, and I think that that's kind of what Chris was trying to start. So this is my response. I'd love to see some other folks out there respond to it. If you're not familiar with Chris's channel, I'll link it below in the description. Now, Chris named 10 of his favorite current artists, and that just means artists that obviously are still alive and still making music and have put out albums in recent-ish times. There are a lot of artists that I love in contemporary music, some that have been making music for, 20 years or longer, that are still putting out great albums today. Even based on his last album, you could count Bob Dylan in this list. But I'm narrowing the focus down. So the rule that I'm kind of placing on myself for this video in this list is that these artists all released their debut album 2010 or later. I'm not cluing anybody in on any like hidden secrets here. Most all of these artists are critic darlings. The first artist I'm going to talk about is out of North Carolina, and I've mentioned her and her band before. She's out of the Triangle area. This is her first full-length. Sarah Shook and the Disarmers, Sidelong. This came out in 2017 on Bloodshot. She had an EP before this that has since been reissued. They have their very own unique sound, of alt country and punkabilly and rockabilly and just straight up honky tonk, really, in a lot of ways. She's a fantastic songwriter, has a very unique personality in the scene, in my opinion. And, Eric Peterson has kind of been her long-time musical partner on guitar. Their pedal steel player, Phil Sullivan, is fantastic. This is her most recent album. Came out in 2019, I believe. 2018, sorry. It's called Years, also on Bloodshot. I love both of these albums. Okay, this artist, I didn't even really discover until this past year. They were in my top 10 favorite albums of 2020. The artist is SAULT, and I talked about them in that video. They're out of the UK. They're a collective, a musical collective. This is neo-soul, elements of hip-hop, electronic music, kind of, it's got a DJ feel almost to it. Fantastic group, and I've streamed all of their albums now. I recently was able to get one of the recent represses of Rise, Untitled Rise, which was another album that they released last year, along with this one, Untitled Black Is. They were kind of hard to come by, but I think that it looks like they're getting repressed now due to demand.
We are dying, that's the reason we are crying. We are crying, but we will never show fear, even in my eyes. I will always rise in wildfires.
So the next group that I'm going to talk about is kind of a indie pop, indie rock band, elements of jangle in their sound. Out of Melbourne, Australia, Rolling Blackouts, Coastal Fever. This is their full-length debut from 2018. This was one of my favorite albums of 2018. Just a great band. I think it's clever songwriting, strong melodies. The interplay between the guitars is outstanding. This is their latest album, came out last year. For much of the year, this was one of my favorite albums. But just then, some finds that I found later in the year kind of overtook it. So it didn't really make my top 10, but it's still a great follow-up, not a sophomore slump by any means.
It's the tyranny of questioning. Ring the diving bell. I'm further down, I'm nearly out, I'm deeper down the well. And hopeless, no embrace. I wanna know where the silence comes from. The space that your name sink in. You're not talking straight, I'm right, this is sin.
Okay, the next artist that I'm going to talk about also released an album in 2020 that showed up on a lot of year-end lists. His name is Michael Hadreas, who records under the moniker Perfume Genius. This is his latest album. Again, it came out last year. It's called Set My Heart on Fire Immediately. This is very lush, emotional, powerful, experimental pop, elements of chamber pop, elements of Baroque, art rock, I guess what you would call it. But this is a gorgeous album. The song On the Floor, which is kind of the poppiest thing he's written, has like a bass line and keyboards sound that's almost, it's very Stevie Wonder, very boogie on reggae woman sounding. I don't know. It's a cool track. On the Floor, yeah, it was one of my favorite songs from last year. This was his 2017 album. Should mention Set My Heart on Fire Immediately, the last one that I just showed, and this one were both produced by Blake Mills, who's another artist that I probably could have included in this list. And then this was the first album that I ever listened to by him and purchased. It's called Too Bright. Came out in 2014. It's produced by Portishead's Adrian Utley.
Ooh, love will never break the shape we take. Oh, no, love will never break the shape we take. Oh, no, love will never break the shape we take. Oh, baby, let all the voices slip away.
Shifting gears a bit, this is a band out of Toronto, Ontario, in lovely Canada. It's Alvvays. This is their debut album from 2014. I would say indie pop band, guitar sounds that kind of at times merge into shoegaze. Overall, a dreamy sound, I would say, but there's a lot of elements of twee in here as well. Incredibly catchy melodies. Yeah, this was a great debut album. I saw them open for the Disarmers, and they put on a hell of a show too. Was in a theater in Atlanta called the Tabernacle. That was a great show. It was a fun show, fun night. This is their second album, came out in 2017, called Anti-Socialites. Just as good. A little bit of growth, I would say, in their sound. But nothing wrong with continuing the formula from the first album at all, in my opinion.
Respond to my question metaphorically. I don't read into psychology. It won't rely on your mood for anything. Turning this, turning this, turning back. After what was said, turning this, turning this, turning back. After what was said.
Now this one I'm taking a little bit of a leap of faith on because he's only really released one full-length proper album and then an EP of cover songs by the band National. And the artist I'm talking about is Bartees Strange. This was my second favorite album from last year. Just an incredible blend of genres from everywhere. Rock, hip-hop, all forms of rock. Even bits of, I would say, kind of indie folk mixed in to this album as well. But yeah, I just really look forward to what he has in store. I just have a hunch that I'm not going to be let down by what he produces. But again, like I said, a little bit of a leap of faith because I'm only going off of one album here, but
I've seen it all come and go by me. Oh, boy, I've seen everything I love past. And I believe in a world that's black and gold. Don't nobody gotta know. And I wish I could run somewhere low where nobody's gonna go. And I wish I could run.
okay, this next artist is kind of associated with the Americana scene. I think she's really just a great rock and roller. This is Lilly Hiatt. This is her album from 2017, Trinity Lane. I just think she's a fantastic singer-songwriter. Her voice has a very unique kind of quality to it. There's some great charging rock and roll on this album that really gets stuck in your head. And then this is her most recent album, Walking Proof. And this was in my top 10 of 2020. Yeah, really, really good stuff. I haven't been able to see her live, and I would really like to because I think her band would be amazing live.
6 years ago, hope was nothing much. Waking up to a stranger's touch. I gave up vodka. I chilled out on weed. That record still hung on to me. I'll take lonely if it means free. It's never how you thought it'd be. But that record waited up for me. That record waited up for me.
This next band, you've probably seen a few others in the VC mention. I know my buddy Rob Walker is a fan, and Sam at the Final Douche. I'm going to start with the first album that I ever picked up by them, and it's Parquet Courts. This is Sunbathing Animal from 2014. Post-punk that's almost derivative of the Velvet Underground. That's very prevalent on this album, I feel, in particular. But they've also drawn a lot of comparisons to Stephen Malkmus and Pavement. And I get it. But I think they definitely do their own thing as well. They're not a Pavement ripoff or anything. 2015 album, Human Performance. The title track on this is my favorite song by them. It's just so good. And the contrast from the chorus from the verse into the chorus is stellar. A brilliant piece of kind of pop songwriting. And then this is their masterpiece, their latest album from 2018, Wide Awake. I've listened to this one so much, from start to finish. I just feel like this is their strongest effort, and I'm interested to see what they do next, because I kind of feel like with every album, they've kind of been refining their sound in a way.
When I think about you, I see a person who hasn't existed for a long time. Before you started using, before I started choosing to do the same thing for the same reason. First thing I called you is not a name at all, more of a duty than a function. Often in execution, often with deep confusion of who is I without it was just mine.
So here's another artist that put out an album last year that was my favorite album of last year. Katie Crutchfield, who records as Waxahatchee. Here's St. Cloud. So this was my favorite album of 2020. And she's put out 5 albums, I believe. Her debut was in 2012. I had, what was it? The 2013 album, Cerulean Blue. And I don't know, I just didn't listen to it as much. And I had almost kind of said, I guess I'm just not really a Waxahatchee fan. And I traded it back in. And then she put this out, Ivy Trip. And this was 2015 on Merge. This album is a little bit all over the place, though, stylistically. But some really, really great songs. And so then that one kind of hooked me back in. And then this was also a top 10 favorite for me from that year, but 2017's Out in the Storm. And this is just I think a great indie rock album. Again, pulling a lot from sounds from the 90s. And this is like 2 versions of the album, a 2 LP set, where one is the final recorded output, and then the other LP is like demos. And then this is the EP that she released, Great Thunder, in between Out in the Storm and St. Cloud. And you could really, this is what I do like about EPs, even though I don't have a ton of them, is that it's kind of the bridge between 2 statements, you know, and that's what this is. You can hear where she was and then where she was moving to with her sound.
Your head caught in a ditch last night. I got to you in parting. Now you're somewhere else's mess tonight, and I got upset. I told you twice that I know how to break inside the brick house that you built around your cranium. You wear it like a crown.
Then I would say that this band is probably my favorite new-ish band, as in a band that I've discovered within the last 5 years. It's band Big Thief, which is based in Brooklyn. So it's Adrienne Linker on vocals and guitar, and the primary singer-songwriter, and then Buck Meek on lead guitar. And then I always get these guys, I can't pronounce their names, but Max Olarchik on bass, and James Krivchenya on drums. This is just a great band. They just play so well together, and you can hear that in the recorded output, especially on this album, which came out in 2019, Two Hands. This was pretty much recorded with no overdubs. I think they used a few in the end, but it was recorded live in the studio. And you can just really hear how well they work together. That was the second album they released in 2019. This was the first one, UFOF. And this one was the one that kind of ended up on a lot of more year-end lists, but Two Hands was my favorite. I just liked the raw sound of it. This is a gorgeous album. So I'll just go backwards from there. This is Capacity, which came out in 2017. Shark Smile, which was kind of the lead or one of the singles off this album, still might be my favorite song by them. I always hate when I kind of pick a single as my favorite by a band, but it's just a great song. And then their 2016 full-length debut, Masterpiece.
You saw the masterpiece. She looks a lot like me. Wrapping my left arm around your right, ready to walk you through the night.
Again, I have a whole other list of artists that, like I said, have been recording for longer, that really are probably truly my favorite artists. You know, bands like Spoon, obviously, and The National. Again, I'd love to see some other responses from some folks. So that'll be it. Again, I linked Chris, the long cut, in the description. And yeah, hope everybody's doing well. All right, take care.